Nash picked it up and sang on it and like reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to make a feature out of it and stuff? I'm gonna say overcoming depression, but I'm not sure I did, because it's always a struggle, I guess. The way I've been dealing with love has always been pretty bad. I was the friend zone guy, always been, and not anymore. I have a girlfriend, yay. Like, I think I will eventually quit music to make something else.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with KIDSWASTE.
Hello.
So you're born in Amiens,
Not
France?
born in Amiens, but I'm living in Amiens.
Oh, you're living. So
Yeah.
where were you born then?
In the south, in a city called Montpellier.
Oh.
Then I moved to, I did move to Paris, like near about Paris, and then went to Engel.
Where are your parents from?
I think they're both from the south. Yeah, they're both from the south. Yeah, they've lived there their whole life, and then they moved to Paris pretty much when I was born.
What do they do?
My dad is working for his own society, and my mother, she's just working on. I don't know how you say it, but like when you call people to offer services and stuff. I don't know what it's called, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Where do you get your musical side from?
I guess my dad. Not that he's like very musical or anything, but he plays piano, and when I was a kid they tried to teach me piano. It worked out for a bit, and then I stopped because we moved out and I was just not motivated. But yeah, so my dad has been playing piano for a while, and whenever, like, he likes to show off. My dad is kind of like that. He's a very fun person. So whenever we have like people around, he's gonna play piano. Whenever we're at home, sometimes he's bored, so he's like composing on his electronic piano, like making his own tunes and stuff.
Oh wow, he's the original producer in your family.
He's the real producer of the family, actually. He's the one producing.
He's the ghost producer.
Yeah. But yeah.
What kind of music were your parents playing in the house when you were growing up?
Pretty much everything. Like, they didn't actually try to. My dad always liked the same artists and stuff, but whenever we listened to music, it wasn't listening to CDs and stuff. We listened to some CDs, which were like kind of Linkin Park, a French artist called Jean-Jacques Goldman, which my dad is a huge fan of. A lot of Mark Knopfler. My mother doesn't have a musical side, like she doesn't really play her music and stuff, it's mainly my dad. But then, like as a kid I went on the internet super quickly, like maybe when I was 9 or 10. I started using the internet frequently.
Oh wow, they let you?
Yeah, they let me, my parents were very nice about it. My dad was playing games, so he let me play games on his computer. So that's how I got into computing. And I discovered the music I liked myself, and then I was asking my parents to buy me CD at a very young age. So I was listening to like French pop music stuff that was not even good, but like I was a kid.
Oh.
So yeah, I got.
Do you remember the first CD?
Not really. I guess one of the first I got was actually a Linkin Park CD because I was a huge fan because of my dad, and I still am.
Were you in some bands?
Sorry?
Were you in bands?
Yeah, I was in a band when I was 15. I got into my first band. So my friends already had a band for a while, like maybe 1 or 2 years before I joined, but they didn't have a singer, and I was friends with them, and I knew that they were looking for one, but I didn't really know how to sing. I was just like, hey, maybe I can join and do something with you guys. So that's kind of what I did. I just went up to them. I was like, so yeah, I know you guys are looking for a singer. Why not me? Then they were like, okay, we'll try it out.
But were you always a singer? Like you knew that you could sing?
No. It was just more about not being alone anymore at home and playing video games, but more like having something to do with my friends, which I was singing a lot at school, but I wasn't going out that much. Yeah, I've always been a nerd.
Do you like singing a lot?
What?
Do you like singing a lot?
Not even. Like I said,
now?
it was. Now it's a bit different because I've experienced with it a lot. But yeah, I was in this band. And so I was singing, it wasn't good, but at least we had fun. We played one show together, I think, 2 shows, and it was fun. And then they dropped me out because I was not going to the rehearsals anymore, and I was just like being lazy and stuff, so they kicked me out. So I guess it's deserved. But at that time, my parents bought me my first guitar because they thought I was involved into music, and that's how I actually got into producing.
Did you like school?
No. I'm very bad at school. I was very bad at school. I'm not at school anymore.
Your parents didn't push you to study?
They did. So the situation was so before high school, like middle school and stuff, I was doing great. I was doing just okay. And maybe I don't know how places work there, but pretty much in the middle of middle school, I kind of started being myself pretty much. Like I've always been, like I said, on the internet and stuff, so I've developed my personality very early, and using stuff like whatever, like YouTube or Facebook, and just talking to people online. And I wasn't very, like, my parents were educative, of course, like they've always been there behind me, but the main education that I was getting for myself was on the internet, because I was learning a lot, I was reading a lot, I was talking to people a lot. So I've learned a lot about myself at a young age, and so I've always been a bit rebellious about everything. Not anymore, but I was as a kid. And so it was always about, oh, fuck school, this is bad, I don't like it, I just want to do my own thing, which was nothing at the time, I was just playing video games. But yeah, so school was pretty much like that. It was just me going to school because my parents were asking me. I didn't like it, and I was getting bad grades. In high school, I started skipping class a lot, so that's bad as well.
To play games?
Not necessarily. I started producing pretty much in high school, so sometimes it was mainly because I didn't like school that I was skipping, but like a lot of times after that, so maybe in the middle of high school as well, I started skipping because I just wanted to make music and stay at home and do my own thing.
What did your parents think of that?
They hated it. They've always pushed me to just go to school and then figure it out. So that's kind of what I did. Like basically I finished high school, got my degree, because even though I didn't like it, I was good at school. So I was getting very bad grades, but mainly because I was not working. Otherwise, whenever there was something coming up and I knew what it was about, even though I was sleeping in class or not even going to class anymore, I was just getting, like, I had the knowledge to get good grades, but I just wasn't doing anything. So yeah, so I got my degree because of that. Even though I missed like pretty much all the classes and was getting bad grades, like terrible grades, during all the year long. Yeah. I was just able to pass, and then I went to college. And college, they were like, okay, so just go to college, see if you like it, and if you don't, well, you can drop out, but for a year, maybe two, and then we'll see what happens. And that's when music started to pop off. So I didn't have to go back to school anymore.
What were you gonna study in college?
I studied language, so Chinese and English mainly.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what do you like about that?
I was pretty bad in English for my whole teenage life. And I don't know, just by going on the internet more and more, I learned English by myself. And so yeah, the main thing I was really good at in France, because France is not very cultured about English language, go figure out why. Like everything we have is in French, and everything that is in English is translated to French. So we don't actually learn English that much, unless you're like working very hard at school, which is not the case for most students. So I got good at English through the internet and even like my language and stuff, so I really liked it. And so that was the only thing I was doing really well at in school.
How about Chinese?
Chinese, it was because the language course I went into was teaching two main languages. The first one was English, and the second one was Chinese.
Oh, so you didn't have a choice?
No, I did have a choice with two other languages, but I don't remember what they were. But I chose Chinese because it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you're the first person I've ever met who studied Chinese.
I studied for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then I dropped out. I didn't stay in college too, like super long. Because the main thing was, so I was already living in Amiens. I've been living in Amiens for like when I started high school, pretty much. And the university I was going to was so far away from my home. So I had to, like, round trip, it was pretty much 2 hours. And me being already a super lazy person and not going to school that much, 2 hours round trip just to go to school and study when I didn't even like it, just didn't make sense. Yeah. So I was not going anymore until some point, and then I just stopped, and my parents were like, okay.
How did you get your music out there initially?
Just put it through SoundCloud. At first it wasn't anything serious. It was basically me playing around with my guitar and posting it on SoundCloud to show it to my friends on Facebook. And that was pretty much it. That's where it stopped.
But how did people like outside of your friend group find it?
So I started going on Reddit after, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 months of producing. And I didn't know anything about the website, but I just discovered it like that. And I found this thing, which was, I think, Future Beats producer or something, which was the first thing that actually got me into Future Bass, because when I started, I was a Future Bass producer, which is surprising, but yeah. And yeah, I found some people like that. I found my first collective called Nicom, which was pretty much like 7. How much are we now? But yeah, it was pretty much like 4 or 5 people at the time, which were on this subreddit and just making music together. And we were just, yeah, it was at a time where collectives were popping off, so like Moving Castle, Selection, and all that. So we were just like, hey, let's make our own and try to do something. So I met Howl, which was a producer in there, which at the time was Orwell. And so yeah, he was one of the first few producers that I met that I talked to. And he knew Maniacula, he knew Chris. And so yeah, he showed my music to Chris, and Chris was like, hey, this is great. And I don't remember really how, but like someday he messaged me on Twitter and was like, hey, let's make a song together. And it was the Caribou remix that we made together. Oh. And that's how it happened. And the Caribou remix pretty much gave me all the visibility that I have now. And so that musically, and industry-wise, I met Brett Blackman, which has been on an interview here. And he helped me a lot. He taught me pretty much everything I know about the industry now. Oh wow. And it was very helpful. I've always seen the music industry side as a game myself, because I've always liked to take things by myself and like learn everything about. Like, I'm not a big learner in most things, but what I'm very interested in, I'm gonna work my ass off to make sure it's perfect. So my industry side at the time, I was trying to make it perfect. I didn't have a manager, I didn't have anything, it was just myself. And yeah, I was trying to make sure that everything I was doing made sense, that I was taking the right decisions, and that, I don't know, release-wise, even though I didn't have much plans or anything, make sure that everything was ready for release and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Were you ever afraid of getting into the music industry too young? That people will like, you know, schemish or... I was scared that people would not take me seriously. That was the main... And I still am, because I'm only 20. So now that I have management and stuff, it's pretty easy, like it's easier. But at the time it was very hard to like reach out to people and be like, hey, I'm this 16-year-old guy, or 17, I don't remember, and ask for help or ask for a release plan or anything. Hello, child. So yeah, at the time it was very hard. But I just pushed through. I just liked it so much, I didn't see what else I could do or would do. Really? What? The stuff that I see on Sidewalk. Anyway. So yeah, I just really like what I was doing, and I don't know. Like I said, I didn't see myself doing anything else. Like, I didn't like studying. There was nothing I was really involved in. And just like when I was going to school, just going back home and starting working on a track, or just taking back on the tracks that started the day before, was the only thing I was actually looking forward to. So that's what I did. I just kept making music. How did you find your management? So I released a lot of the tracks that were successful on the project were self-released. And I think he reached out after Comeback. I think so, yeah. So Comeback was the first big release that I had. Originally it was just an instrumental that I put on SoundCloud because I liked it. That's pretty much it, there was nothing behind it. And then Nash picked it up and sang on it and like reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to make a feature out of it and stuff? So Nash sang on it and it became Comeback featuring Nash, which was amazing. Like, I was not a big producer or anything, so to me it was amazing. Yeah, it just reached out like that. It was random. Like, it's so random. Was it difficult going from doing remixes to making original music? No, I feel like a lot of people got stuck doing too much remix, you know? I made a lot of originals. I never made a lot of remixes. If you go through, well, I don't have them anymore. I deleted all the old tracks because they were just not reflecting what I'm doing now. But at the time, I was just like making a lot of originals. I was just writing original ideas. Was not making too many remixes. and the Caribou remix out of maybe 3 other songs, maybe 4 or 5. Like yeah, that's pretty much it. I pretty much had like 5, 6 remixes and 20 originals, something like that. Maybe more because I was deleting tracks as I went. So yeah.
Was it a conscious decision that you always want to do originals and you didn't want to be stuck as a remix person?
Well, I was not a remix person.
Yeah.
So like, that's how it started. I feel like a lot of producers I know are kind of stuck in this because they were like, okay, how do I create my own sound now? But I always had technically my own sound, but it's like it evolved through time.
Did you ever think it's difficult, like, going out on originals? Because I feel like a lot of producers do remixes to like get more of their music out there, and originals is like hard to market. It's hurting from the beginning.
Yeah, it's kind of true. It didn't really happen like that to me because I don't know. Like I feel like the ideas I had were good. Like I think I'm a good songwriter, so whatever I'm gonna write since the beginning has always been kind of great. Like I knew that I was going the right direction, but I didn't have any other meaning to put it out. So like, for instance, the tracks I'm singing on, which are pretty much all of them that are not features now, like most of them. Like when I was not singing, I was like, okay, this could be a great vocal line, or this could be this. And yeah, I had a lot of ideas like that. So to me, it was just making sure that the idea was right, and then even though I didn't have the tools, like I was not good at producing or even playing guitar or whatever, I was just making sure that the idea was right, and then putting it out even though it was not complete. Which is what I've kind of been doing with Beauvois, which is my side project. Like Beauvois has always been about this. Like I started Beauvois because I wanted to start singing on tracks, but I didn't have a real voice. So one day I started making a Chet Faker cover. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sing on it because it's kind of close to my voice, and I put it out because I just didn't want to release it through KIDSWASTE because it didn't make sense, and I wanted to still see what people thought of it. And it did not blow up, but like it did really well on SoundCloud. People reacted really well to it, so I was like, I'm just gonna keep going through doing this. Like I'm just gonna keep doing this.
Yeah.
To keep English. And I kept singing more and more and more and more until I started singing on KIDSWASTE pretty much. And then when I've got all the ideas together, it was even easier for me to write originals. And now it's just pretty much only originals, except if I find like a very good track that I love and put a remix out of it. But it's not what I'm looking to do.
How did Slow Hours come about?
So Slow Hours originally was a Facebook conversation pretty much. It started 2 or 3 years ago when I was talking to Astra, which is part of Slow Hours, and we pretty much liked each other's music, but that was it. And those guys, so everybody else except apart from Rusty Hook, they were already friends and talking to each other a lot. And yeah, someday I got invited to the Facebook group, pretty much. Like they had a conversation so it was Suken, Lane, Culture, Astra, Kamsen, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So they invited me to the conversation and we became friends very quickly. And about the end of that year, which was I think in 2015, we decided to create Slow Hours because we had that idea in mind. But we created it kind of clueless, like we didn't know if we were going to make a band, if we were going to make a collective or anything. And for maybe a year and a half, we tried to make songs, like originals or just even like not covers, but like remixes together, or making compilation of tracks that we all made and then like put out as Slow Hours. I don't know, we tried to figure it out and we never did. So there was like a year in between announcing Slow Hours and doing actually doing something with Slow Hours.
How did you meet Chelsea Cutler?
Through Twitter as well. She was putting covers at the time, and I just reached out because I liked her stuff, and I was like, hey, let's do a Daughter cover, because she tweeted about Daughter. It was stupid, but I was like, hey, I like it too, let's make something. Yeah. And we made the Medicine cover that I have on my SoundCloud, which is doing really well now, like 3 years after, I think? Or is it 3 years after, and it's doing really well right now. I don't know why, but okay. And yeah, and that's how we became friends and started working on tracks together. And she's blowing up now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I contributed to it too much, but I'm happy that I've been part of her adventure because, like, I'm so proud of her. She's super great.
Yeah. What's your inspiration behind your EP Spleen?
Spleen comes from a French writer called Baudelaire, which created the spleen pretty much. The spleen is a feeling of melancholia and sadness and happiness at the same time. Something that, like, something you feel when you pretty much, like, imagine, like, the best picture is being like lay down on a Sunday and not doing anything, and you're just thinking about a lot of memories that you had, and you're alone in your bed, and yeah, you don't know what to feel. You don't know if you're happy because those memories were great, or if you want to go through them again, or whatever. So you have this feeling, that feeling, and it's called the spleen. And I like the idea of having, like, my EP was not sad and was not happy, it was just about whatever you wanted to make it to be. So I like the idea of naming it Spleen because first it was showing a bit of French culture to people, and I liked the idea that people could just look up the name and find about the real spleen, which it was inspired of. The fact that, like, I'm French, so discover my culture is great. And also, yeah, the fact that you can feel pretty much anything listening to the EP. So yeah, that's where it comes from.
Yeah. How did you meet Sophie Simmons?
I met her. So she posted a song called Black Mirror, which I really liked, and I told my manager Alistair that would, like, hey, I like this song. Can we reach out to her? And that worked out.
So simple.
And then I was flying to LA maybe like the week after or something. So we just set up a session and we worked together. And I wrote the track during the session. So the whole track was finished during the session.
Oh wow.
She had to stay like for half an hour, so I had to finish super quick. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, don't worry, he's gonna be great. She told me I was a fast producer, so I was like,
Was there a music video or no?
There was not, but I wish there will be.
Oh, okay.
I would like it.
Yeah. What's the inspiration behind her song with her?
I was just writing stuff because I had like a few ideas in mind. Pretty much when I have ideas, I don't try to think of them, I just put them down and see how it works. So I wrote the original piano, which was, like, I built the song in its original order. So it went from intro to drop and stuff. I didn't start by the drop or anything. I just wrote the original piano loop, and then she started writing vocals on top of it, and with the help of the vocals, I shaped the song and finished it.
Oh. How would you say your music has changed since the early songs you made?
Well, I was making future bass at first. Like, when I went from future bass to more chill music, it was mainly because my inspiration changed. And I was listening to a lot more. Like, I'm not listening to a lot of electronic music, surprisingly. I'm listening to a lot of folk, a lot of indie pop, and that kind of stuff. So I've never been into the very electronic side, and future bass just did not make sense to me because that's not what I was listening to, like, on a daily basis. So yeah, I just decided to write chill music, and from there I progressed a lot. And I still have a bit of electronic music inspiration. Like, Beautiful Life is kind of future bass in a sense. But future bass doesn't really make sense anymore, and like everything is future bass now. Like, you can listen to a track on SoundCloud and do not know if it's like future beats, future bass, indie pop, electronic, whatever, because all the sounds kind of melted together and created, I think, what I would call a SoundCloud sound. Which is like pretty much all the producers from SoundCloud that kind of reunited into things. Like Julu is not future bass to me, and I think people make that mistake a lot. But Julu has nothing that is actual future bass in their sound. So yeah, it was just living future bass, making my own thing, and I started picking up guitar again and then singing. And now it's pretty much all this. Like, all the new songs I'm making now, it's pretty much voice and guitar and a lot less electronic elements in my songs.
How do you say you've grown as a person since you were younger?
Well, I'm a lot less rebellious. I'm trying to understand things more. At a young age, I think you can see it, but I was emo and stuff. Like, I was really deep into emo roots, and not like cutting yourself and all that shit, but it was very about like learning about myself in very sad ways, like knowing what my emotions were like and how to dominate them or how to actually lose against them. And yeah, it was very much like my young age was pretty much this, like feeling very sad.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
I'm gonna say overcoming depression, but I'm not sure I did, because it's always a struggle, I guess. But yeah, I've never been actually depressed, like the very sickness of it. But I've always been like very near it. And I think also ours is gonna understand that the same way I do, because we've all been feeling that way. And that's why we that's why we work together a lot more. It's not because we're just a band that works together. We're also like very deep friends that have the same feelings and share the same view about the world. And the way we'll cope with sadness was making music. So yeah, depression was always there, laying around me and just being around me. And making music helped me a lot, as much as it did not help as well, because we've seen it with Avicii and all that stuff. But music can put a lot of pressure on you and kind of destroy your mental health. So yeah, there's always been this around me. And I think I'm winning, finally. Like after a few years, I think I'm winning and ready to overtake it.
That's good.
So yeah, that would be the biggest challenge I have.
What does love mean to you?
I don't know. I don't know. That's so hard to answer. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the way I've been dealing with love has always been pretty bad. I was a friend zone guy. Always. Always been. And not anymore. I have a girlfriend. Yay. I overcame that too as well. Finally. But yeah, it's always been very weird. And I don't know, I've never had like happy relationships and stuff with love. So I'm just actually discovering a lot about it now, which is great. But yeah, I don't have a real answer because I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I don't know. I want to make a change. I don't want to make a change with my music or anything. I think my music will not die out, but like I think I will eventually quit music to make something else.
Really?
Because I love art as it is. I don't love music. I just love creating and making things. So I could be a writer. I could be a painter. I could be anything. Just anything that is related to creation. So I would love to like find my own voice through creation and create something that will be remembered. That's what I want to do.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the interview.
Bye-bye.
Bye.